Hello viewers and welcome again to Discovering Truth, and I am Pastor Forbes from the Gateway here in the Gambia, Abiding Word Ministries. Well, as I promised you, after our very long 5-month series on the Gambia getting it right, today I want to start what I hope would just be a 3-part series, and it's entitled Our Work Ethic and Our Communication Styles. And my focus, of course, always is about us here in the Gambia, my country, but I'm sure the principles are timeless and they can be useful to other nations, other communities, and other people. And so we want to start looking specifically at how we work here in our country, what is our ethic, what is our ethos, and also how we communicate with one another. We all know, ladies and gentlemen, that nobody is an island. As a matter of fact, when we see people who withdraw into themselves, we call them hermits, we call them recluses. We sometimes, depending on their behavior, might even term them loosely or actively as antisocial people. In other words, they want to be by themselves, do things by themselves, by and large, for reasons best known to them, do not want to be a part of the family called society. But we also know that, and we have heard this over and over again, songs have been sung about it, poems have been written about it, and the phrase goes like this: no man or no woman or no person is an island. Means we are social beings. God created us to have fellowship. That is why we form units, families, unions, and we talk. And that's why for the preservation of the human species, we procreate so that we build family structures and units that become generational, and the cycle continues in a dynamic way. You can imagine, but probably you cannot, if when God created Adam and Eve, Adam and Hawa, he decided that they were going to be just a one-generation couple, or maybe even family. So they had Cain and Abel, and that's it. No. Today we are about 8 billion people on the planet Earth living, and that means that for us to have this 8 billion, unfortunately, some people have predeceased us. As people are passing on, babies are being born, the babies are growing to become young children who become adults, the young children who are becoming adults are becoming parents, those who are parents are becoming grandparents, the grandparents are becoming great-grandparents, and people are passing on, and the cycle for the continuation and the maintenance of the human species continues. It will be a great challenge if that cycle continues and everybody is by themselves. There is no interaction, there is no interdependence. As observers of life and anthropologists have put it, when we are born and we come to this earth, we are totally dependent. We don't know our names, we can sit by ourselves, we can talk, people have to help us until our bone structure and everything about us grows and we become who we are. Now, in the spectrum and the journey between birth and death, we go through 3 phases. We start with the totally dependent phase where we can do nothing for ourselves right from the womb to when we are birthed. And then we start growing and we are potty trained and we are groomed well. And in some ways, we start exercising some form of independence. We exercise the power of choice, the power of free will, and depending on how we grow, we have a guiding conscience that we don't necessarily need a book, law, statutes, constitution to tell us that this is right, this is wrong. Upbringing, good grooming, pedigree, and the guiding conscience, the voice of right or wrong in our heart, helps us to decide. Then we begin to grow old. And you hear that phrase, once a man, twice a child. People get very old and almost become dependent again. They need help. But at that point, we call it interdependent. So there is this interplay between dependence, independence, and interdependence. And in all three phrases, whether they run concurrently or linearly, we need people. Nobody can raise their hands and say, I am self-made. That will not be true. Because it took two people to birth us into this world. And more than those two people, even our siblings, families, friends, nannies, nurses, midwives, doctors, house helps, child minders, kindergarten teachers, play school teachers, assistant teachers, and all that, religious instructors, godparents, friends, society, the village, to bring us up. Now, while we are growing and getting to know ourselves, getting to maybe discover our purpose in life, discover our vision, create a mission for our lives, build personal core values, ethos, we still will have to relate to people. And the way we relate to people can either make our lives joyful, pleasurable, full of sweet memories, growth indicators will be there, or it can be a very trying time. Why so? Because the major percentage of our interaction with people comes from communication and correspondence. And more often than not, it is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Non-verbal being body language, mannerisms, and gestures. But more often than not, it's verbal communication. If there is peace in a family, peace between a couple, peace in a society, peace in a nation, togetherness, oneness, progress in a vision of a company, of an organization, of an entity where 2, 3, 4 or more people gather. If there is peace, there is love, there is understanding, there is progress, there is laughter, there is fun, there is an enabling environment, more often than not, it's because of communication. How it has gone. Conversely, if there was fights, civil strifes, civil disobedience, arguments, violence, disconnections, disagreements, hate speech, all those things, they are the outcomes and the offshoots of how we communicate. And we cannot do without communicating. Life would be a challenge if we did not communicate with one another. Sometimes you have heard it said by people in a disconnect, in a disagreement, in an argument, and people are trying to bring a resolution, bring peace to this conflict and disobedience, and sometimes the 2 or 3 parties are asked to speak. And sometimes, more often than not, especially the party that maybe is more prone to seeking peace, you'll hear this phrase: it is not what you said, it is how you said what you said. It is the packaging of what you said. Sometimes it's not the content, it's not even the intent, it's the presentation, it's how it came out. So somebody has wisely said that sometimes we men don't really know how to maybe propose marriage to a lady if we're single, and the person said we must go and buy Hallmark cards, and some of these cards have nicely written love words that are packaged and nicely put that will melt the heart of the woman we love. Why? Because it's all about the presentation, the packaging, the style, the modus operandi. It's how we coined and phrased what we wanted to say, regardless of the thing itself. So we hear it said all the time: I'm not unhappy with you because of what you said. I'm not angry with you. I'm not cross with you. I'm not upset with you because of what you said. What is really upsetting me, what has really incensed me, what is deflating me, what has annoyed me, what has brought this rift and disconnection, it's not what you said, it is how you said it. It is how you said it. It's the methodology, it's the packaging, it's the style. So in this 3-part series, we'll look at our communication styles and also we'll look at our work ethic. But I want to start more with the communication style. We are known as a peace-loving people. We have been given the name, or we have coined the name ourselves, the Smiling Coast. Anybody, any entity that has the word smiling added to it in a descriptive manner gives the impression that that adjective will be seen in practice, will be manifestly seen to be in operation. What that also means is that the people who have decided that smiling would be a qualitative characteristic of theirs, it means they have either had the opportunity to frown, to be offensive, to be obnoxious, to be rude, to be demeaning, to be condescending, to be arrogant, to be bullying, and they've discovered that all these 7 words I just used have consequences, effects that they really do not like. So they've tasted that one, and they've tasted the smile. Let me read for you 3 or 4 verses from the Bible. And I'm reading from the book of Proverbs, Proverbs chapter 15. I'll read from verse 1 to verse 4. Proverbs is like in the middle of your Bible. After the Psalms, there are 150 Psalms. The very next book after Psalms is Proverbs. Proverbs has 31 chapters, the book of wisdom. So in the 15th chapter of the book of Proverbs and the first verse, this is what it says: a soft word or a soft answer turns away wrath. A soft answer, a soft word, or a softly spoken word or answer has a way of deflecting wrath. Wrath is a heavier form of anger. Wrath actually can manifest in very dramatic ways. Wrath goes beyond anger. And so it says, a soft answer or a soft word, something that comes from my mouth, your mouth, that is chosen deliberately, decidedly to be soft, not harmful, not hard, not offensive, not repulsive, not insulting. That kind of answer turns away wrath, or it pacifies anger. Sometimes people are upset and people come and say something, and we hear this phrase in English, you have just poured kerosene into fire. You have just poured fuel into fire. You have aggravated the situation. A soft word calms it down. A soft word tones it down. Soft communication turns away wrath. So I read it one more time. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So there are comparisons here. If you want to stir up anger, hate, resentment, bitterness, sometimes even violence, give a harsh word. A harsh word will reap and stir up anger. So let me put it in a practical perspective. A scenario occurred, something happened, somebody is upset, somebody is penting up in anger, they are boiling, and there are two things that can be done. Either a soft answer, a soft word, a soft comment that will calm the person down and diffuse the tension and drive away the wrath. Because the consequences of wrath, nobody knows. But if when that person or situation is aggravated, it's at a tipping point, there is anger, somebody comes with a harsh word, repulsive, offensive, denigrating, defaming, degrading, insulting. It only goes to stir up the anger, and anger will manifest itself. And ladies and gentlemen, sometimes when we eventually come to the peace conference and the peace table, sometimes it's too late. There has been incalculable loss, sometimes irreparable damage, and sometimes irreversible consequences. So as we communicate one, to, and with another in this country, on every level, let us not just be irresponsible to feel that we can say anything, anyhow, because we have the vocabulary, because we have a mouth, and relative to more than 2 decades ago, we are now free to be able to speak more than we could in those days. Let us still remember that it is a soft answer that will pacify anger, that turns away wrath. But a harsh word, a harsh sentence, an offish, frivolous, impulsive, impetuous, uncalculated, unwise rhetoric, word, statement, response, answer, stirs up anger. And when anger is stirred, it will manifest itself. So verse 2 says, the tongue of the wise will use knowledge rightly. The tongue of the wise, that means the person operates with wisdom. Wisdom, lightly, simply put, is the proper application of knowledge. So wisdom does not always speak. Sometimes wisdom is quiet. As they say in English, silence can be golden. Because, if I talk and you talk and I talk, we become egalitarian. Sometimes people don't even know who is right, who is wrong. And sometimes people get surprised that for what you are known, for your integrity, for the portfolio, for the office, the responsibility, the duty, the function, the title you carry, the cap you wear, the seat you sit upon, the expectations of society are such that a harsh word cannot be coming from you. Rather, a soft answer should come. Rather, your tongue should carry wisdom so that it dispenses knowledge rightly, deliberately, determinedly, strategically, by choice. The tongue of the wise uses knowledge rightly, but the mouth of fools pours forth foolishness. Let us not be called fools because of the way we talk. There's a West African country, and in their own English, they say you talk by heart. And they say your mouth is as slimy as okra. We call it okra. That means you talk. Somebody once was describing somebody to me who talks a lot without any kind of filter many years ago, and the person called him Press TV. And I said, why? He said, don't you watch that channel? Those days I don't know, but it's what he said. He said, Press TV can show you anything, violence, death, killing, blood. They don't tell you that there's flash photography here. Viewer discretion is advised. They just give it to you as it is. No filtering system. It's like how children talk until they learn to be discreet and use discretion how they speak. Verse 4. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in that tongue will break the spirit. A tongue that is wholesome, that is healing, that is soothing, that is encouraging, is like a tree of life. Its fruits encourage life, energize life. But as long as there is perverseness, wrong way, evil way, deliberately bad things coming out of that tongue, it has a way of breaking the spirit, psychologically damaging, flattening people out, and just breaking their zeal and their passion to do something. Now that is not the way we want to communicate one to and one with another in this country. And this is the introductory part. By the grace of God, I will continue. I hope just 2 more segments, maybe 3 more. My intention is for it to be a 3-part series. If it's 4, that's fine, because we want to dig into how we talk to one another in this country and also our work ethic. Because you see, sometimes we overstretch even the powers we have. We tell people, do you know who I am? I will deal with you. That's not a soft word. That's a harsh word. And that word stirs up anger. Instead of using a harsh word, let's use a soft word, a soft answer, a wholesome tongue, a wise tongue, so we can build up, edify, encourage, lift people up, and present them with a tree of life. Let me stop here, and by the grace of God, until I come your way next week, I pray that you and I start working on how we talk one to another, how we talk with people, subordinates, peers, superiors, that we speak in a respectful manner one to another. May God keep us all. Thank you.
Discover